Hey guys, Natasha here. Thanks for dropping by. If you're new to my channel, I like to talk about minimalism, healthy living, and family things. So if those are things that are of interest to you, please do feel free to subscribe and hit that alert button so you don't miss any new content. So today I wanted to talk to you guys about toys. So a few years ago, my kids had tons of toys. They were everywhere and it was super annoying, especially when it came to cleanup. I feel like the kids would play with the toys for a little bit, but in just a few minutes, stuff was everywhere and it would take us forever to clean up at the end of every day. And usually the adults were the ones doing the cleanup because the kids were still little and maybe the parts of their toys were so complex, it's not something they could do on their own. So it became more of an adult effort, and that was super annoying because I wanted to do other things with my time, especially at the end of a long day. The last thing you want to be doing is spending an hour cleaning up a whole bunch of toys. On top of that, my eldest would always complain of being bored, and I'd be like,
how are you bored? You have like 50 million toys.
You are not allowed to be bored. But yeah, those were things that were kind of red flags to me, and I felt like there's gotta be a better way to live than this.
This can't be how my life is gonna be until they're old enough not to require a whole bunch of toys.
There's gotta be more to life. So after we initially decluttered many parts of our house, we did clothing, we did books, we decided to see what it would be like to take away about 75% of the toys in our house. Let me just say, the results were amazing and better than I ever could have hoped for. It was beyond my wildest dreams. Here's what happened. So the first immediate change that ensued after we were able to declutter was 1. It only takes 5 minutes to clean up at the end of each day. Yes, 5 minutes. Maybe 10 if they really made a super big mess, but I mean, it used to take us 20, 30 minutes before, so 5 minutes, good to me. And the kids actually help, like really help. They actually can help because they know where everything goes. And they know how everything fits back together because they don't have super complex toys. There's just bins. Like, here's a bin for Legos. Here is a bin for your trains. That's all they need to know. So aside from that, after they know there's a bin, they know where to put the bin. And there's only a few bins, and the bins only go in certain places in the house. So it's super easy for us to just put everything, into a respective bin or an ottoman and put it away. The second thing that happened after we decluttered is we realized that everything was visibly more calm. Even during the day when the toys are out and about, it wasn't like super stressful. Like, I used to feel my shoulders tighten, I used to feel my jaw clenching when I would just be walking through my house thinking about how I have to clean that up later, how I have to put that away later. But now it's like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll take care of that at the end of the day. It's not a big deal. Or even if we find out somebody's about to come over, 2 minutes. We only need a couple of minutes to just pop everything, push everything out the way for a moment. It's not like before. I used to be so embarrassed if people would just like drop in or be like, hey, I gotta come over today. You're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. It's a weekday. Nobody said we were having visitors during the week. If you're gonna come over, you need to make an appointment so we can take 3 to 5 hours to clean up the house and make sure it's presentable. But now it's like, okay, you give us 5 minutes notice. All right, blah, 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 blah. The only thing that might happen is if I make a mess in the kitchen or whatever. But in terms of our family areas, super easy to clean up. The third thing that we noticed immediately, after the kids kind of like absorbed the fact that they had less toys around, their imaginations blossomed. They have less toys to choose from, but they use those toys to their full potential, especially their stuffed animals. They kind of just make them role play and do different things. Like maybe one day Minnie Mouse is hanging out on the beach and another day Minnie Mouse is food for a different stuffed animal. They do all the things with the limited amount of toys that they have. I don't get bothered as much. I don't hear them asking me to help them with certain toys. I don't really need to actively be engaged in their play, which is nice because I will use that time to do the other things that I need to do as a mom in the house. So that's awesome. They could go 1 or 2 hours without bothering me. I'm the one that usually has to check in on them and be like, are you guys okay? It's totally different now than it used to be. The fourth thing we noticed is that they stopped saying the words,
I'm bored.
more so my eldest. My youngest, I don't think she really knows what bored means yet, but my eldest, for a while, he used to be like, I'm bored, I have nothing to do. And I'm like, but I haven't heard that in a long time. So I'm thankful for that. Well, Tasha, you might ask, how is this even possible? How does one take away 75% of their children's toys and not have their children come?
Come after them.
That is a very good question. I'm so glad that you asked. So, my kids are currently 8 and 3, but when we did the initial declutter, they were actually 6 and 1. For a few days, I observed what toys they really played with and took note of the toys that they really didn't even pay attention to. I put those toys in a closet. I hid them out of sight for at least a week or two, and if my kids didn't ask for them in that time period, then I felt totally fine donating them. After our initial declutter, I did have some conversations with my son, especially because he was older and he could have conversations. I did have conversations with him about how we are so blessed to have so many toys in the house, but there are actually kids in other places that don't really have that many toys or any toys to play with, and it would be so nice if we could give them some of the toys that we don't really play with that much. And when I had that conversation with him, and I would have it over and over again, he got on board really quickly, and every so often he would be the one to pick out toys that he really didn't play with, and he would let me put them in our donation pile. So ever since then, he hasn't really had an attachment to toys. He does have an attachment to his tablet though. I'll talk about that later. But other than that, overall, he hasn't had a problem with letting go, and part of it I feel is just the way that I phrased giving away the toys. He is a very empathetic soul, so I had to just use his language to help him understand why we were getting rid of so many toys. So I figure, let me take you through the areas of our house where we have toys. Obviously, there's a few toys in my son's room and my daughter's room. It's mostly Legos. In my son's room, he also has like some robotic stuff, and he does have our train set. He also has a bunch of Dungeons and Dragons things, like actual, like a map and stuff, and like markers, and he like draws like different strategies and stuff, and that's a game that he, my daughter, and my husband will play together. I don't know anything about that, but they have a blast and they use their imagination and they do math, so I guess it's cool. In my daughter's room, it's primarily Legos and books. I don't think there's anything else in there. Which one? Which one do you need help? This guy? There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then downstairs we have a big white rollout bin that has Bloxels, Play-Doh, a marble set for building obstacle course, and then the marbles can go around. So our rollout bin is actually in our kitchen, and this part here is our family room. In our family room, we have a pillow mountain, which is that corner there. It used to be a couch, but we have replaced it with pillows. We also have a Montessori shelf area for my daughter, who I am sort of homeschooling sometimes when I feel like it. It's not perfectly Montessori, but it's there, and she knows how to put everything away, so that's cool. So yeah, that's an overview of the extent of their toy collection. So let's switch gears and talk a little about electronic devices. For the purposes of this video, I will refer to electronic devices as just electronics, because that's what we refer to them as in our household. So for electronics, we typically have certain times during the day when the kids are allowed to play. The amount of time has increased due to pandemic, and I feel like you kind of have to give yourself some grace, but I still feel like, at least for our family, it's important to set boundaries and limits, because if we don't, then the kids are just on their devices all day, and at the end of the day, they're crazy
and I don't like them as much.
So we realize when we do have clear boundaries, like, so you can play from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and take a break, and then you can play again in the afternoon from like 1 to 2, things like that. When we're able to set those kinds of boundaries, the kids are pretty good about turning on and turning off their electronics. They're good about walking away and transitioning to do other things. And overall, we still all have our sanity. On top of that, we do have a TV in our house, but it currently resides in the storage room downstairs. Our intent is to bring it upstairs maybe once a week to be able to, but we actually haven't recently. But it's there in case we ever do want to watch things on a bigger screen. For the most part though, the kids are fine with their electronic time. They'll go on YouTube Kids or Minecraft or Roblox or whatever they do. They also have Zoom meetings with their friends here and there. So to us, that's more than enough time on their devices. But on certain days when we're not paying as much attention and they do go over, they're definitely crazy at the end of the day and in a bad mood and totally addicted. So we try to make sure that it doesn't get to that point. And it's our own fault too if it does get to that point, because sometimes we're so busy taking care of other things around the house. So it's kind of just, understanding, what to expect if they go over their time or you don't set those clear boundaries for them. But if they have those clear boundaries and you're consistent with it, then you overall have a pretty peaceful day. I mean, that's my experience. My kids are pleasant. I like them. I like being around them. At the end of the day, I'm not like mentally drained from dealing with them. So to me, that's a blessing. I do feel that by limiting their electronic time, they have more imagination. They don't say that they're bored. They don't have trouble when I ask them to do things around the house. They're cool. So that's what we want. We don't want no hangry kids. We don't want no grumpy kids. If they are exhibiting those kinds of behaviors, if they are dysregulated, then we just have to figure out what is causing that or what's going on behind the scenes and make sure that we're doing our parts as parents to have those boundaries in place to keep them chill, to keep them in the good space and not addicted to electronics. Here are some questions that I ask myself when deciding to buy or keep a toy. Technically, we haven't bought any new toys, but sometimes we do get toys as a gift, or I think I have bought like one new toy for each of my kids in the last year. Like a physical, like something to play with. I don't think we've bought anything recently. So these are the questions that I ask myself when deciding to buy or keep a toy around the house. Question 1. Does this only do one thing? And is that thing annoying? The reason behind that question is because I used to have a lot of toys around the house that flashed or lit up or made a lot of noise at a very high decibel, and I was very annoyed all the time because that's all they did. It was like one thing. Maybe they lit up and made music all at the top of their lungs. They don't have lungs because they're toys. But do you know what I mean? It was just like this one annoying thing that this car did, or this doll did, or whatever. It was annoying and it was loud and I didn't like it. If they only do one thing and they do it like at the most annoying level possible, I will not buy it or I will declutter it. Question number 2. Will my child be able to easily clean it up? I personally avoid toys that have 10 million pieces.
Except for Legos.
Legos just all go in bins around the house and the kids are pretty good at managing that. But any other kinds of toys where there's a lot of assembly or, it's something that the kid can't do on their own, they can't put it back together after they're done playing with it, then those don't come in the house. They need to stay somewhere else. Question number 3. Does it take up too much space? If a toy takes up way too much space to the point that we're moving other furniture around to accommodate it, or we can't tuck it away nicely into a corner when we're done with it, we just don't bring it in our house. I can't. I'm done with those days. I don't have time for that. It's especially if it's something that my kids can't do themselves and they need help with, like to like collapse, it needs to go away. We used to have tents and tunnels in our house and they were fun for a while. We used to have a ball pit and it seemed like a good idea at the time. In retrospect though, I am glad we were able to finally get rid of it because the balls,
The balls would just pop out everywhere, and I was just so tired of having to put the balls back in the ball pit at the end of the day.
It was rough. So those kind of things we just can't. We don't put them in our house anymore. The kids, they had fun with it. It's cool. It's gone now. They are still gonna be okay. They are resilient, and they will be
Just fine.
Wow, I wish I knew all this stuff when I was younger. I totally could have had a neat room like
All the time?
Don't worry though, guys. It's never too late to reverse course. Of course, you need to do what's best for you. Maybe that this video just gives you some ideas. This is just what we do and this is what works for our family. We're much more cohesive because of it. I feel like this just helps us in our daily routine to have more time to spend together and less time having to worry about cleaning things up, looking for missing pieces, all that pizzazz. Things do get messy at times, but it's not at all like it used to be. We used to think that our house might actually be too small, but it was just that we had too much stuff. And once we realized that, our lives changed. Thanks so much for sticking through to the end of this video. I hope that you enjoyed it and that you got something out of it. If you would like to share with me the most annoying toy that you currently have in your household, please do so in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. And if you want to share with me your own toy struggles, or if you want to let me know that you were able to declutter your family's toys, please do let me know down below. I would love to hear from you guys. Till next time, Tasha signing off. Bye.